You're listening to Big World Network.
Phineas Frakture and the Princess of Atlantis, Episode 5. Written by Joseph Gatch. Read by Michael Young. Abigail glared at Ashira's back as the princess and Phineas disappeared down the corridor. "I don't trust her," she said to William, who was still nudging the dead Kraken man with his toe.
"Phineas seems to be enamored by her. I can honestly say I've never seen him like that," answered William.
"It's like she has him under a spell. What do you make of Fish-Face down there?" William knelt down and examined the body.
"I'm no doctor or fisherman, but I wouldn't call this natural evolution. I've heard about eugenic experiments being performed in secret. It's rumored that Grant has an interest in finding or building perfect soldiers. England is well known for their abominations."
His hand unconsciously rubbed his chest.
"Of course, we know firsthand about mutations."
"Say no more about that," Abigail said, putting her hand on his shoulder. William looked up at her with a sad expression. "Come on. Let's get my arm fixed up." She pulled him to his feet with her good hand. "You can figure out how to saute that thing later." Shortly after William and Abigail entered William's quarters, the door opened, and a male, with similar coloring to Ashira, entered. He was well-muscled with chiseled features and flowing blue-black hair. He set a tray down on the table, bowed, and left without a word. William looked over at Abigail, who sat with her mouth hanging open, staring at the door.
"You have some drool on your chin," he said.
"What?" Abigail shook her head and wiped her chin. "Wow. Was he the most gorgeous thing you've ever seen?"
"Hardly. I have a feeling that these people have some sort of mesmeric ability, or a pheromone affecting the opposite sex. That would explain Phineas's attraction to Ashira, and what just happened now."
"Since when did you become the rational one?" Abigail punched his arm as she got up to retrieve the bandages the man had brought. She looked at the bowls containing some sort of stew that were also on the tray. "Not a steak, that's for sure." William tied a sling over her shoulder and secured it to her body.
"It looks like you just banged it pretty good. You should keep it immobilized for a day or two."
"And you said you weren't a doctor," she teased. "Thank you, good sir. Now, we may dine on squidman soup."
"Delicious,"
William replied, eyeing the bowl suspiciously. Once they finished eating, William reached into his duffel bag and pulled out a small present.
"I hate for you to think that you were forgotten about, way down here under the ocean."
Abigail's eyes lit up at the sight. "To be honest, I almost forgot myself with all that has been going on. Thank you, William." She took the present and gave him a peck on the cheek, making him blush. Abigail pulled the ribbon and unwrapped the gift. "Oh, you shouldn't have," she said as she lifted a small piston hammer from the box.
"It's for those more delicate figures. The small versions are hard to find. I should know,"
said William. "It's perfect. Thank you." She turned it over in her hands and sighed. "Do you think that he'll remember?" William hesitated for a moment.
"I'm sure he will. I know that Mrs. Popkiss has threatened to organize his lab if he doesn't. Don't worry. He might surprise you yet."
They talked a while, until finally the door opened and Phineas walked in. Abigail noticed that something wasn't right about him, and had to prod him to actually speak. "What's going on? Are we getting out of here?" Phineas went white as a sheet.
"I think I just got married," he said.
"You what?" Abigail's voice boomed in the tiny room, making the two men cringe in fear. "They asked us for help, so that they could help us.
I agreed. They started reciting in some strange language. She said she did. I said I did. And she kissed me, and you got married, finished William, barely able to contain his amusement. Phineas suddenly reached into his pocket, pulled out a box, and held it out to Abigail. Happy birthday! I got this for you, he said meekly. Abigail stood up, fuming, walked past Phineas, and slapped the box from his hand just before she slammed the door behind her. I didn't know her veins could stick out that far, William finally said after what seemed like an eternity of silence. Bad timing? Asked Phineas. I would say. Married, huh? Yes. To the princess. Looks like it. So that would make you in much deeper trouble than we already were, said Phineas. I would have to agree. What do we have to do to get out of this trouble? Phineas told him what the ministers and Ashira had said. So there are those things swimming around out there? Asked William. How are we going to take a city away from them? We're under the ocean, and last I checked, you don't have gills, neither do I. At least not yet, anyway. They really didn't go into detail. I'm assuming they have some sort of army out here, but they seem to be more scholars than soldiers. At least I know that the Kraken men will go down with a jolt from the Tesla rod, said Phineas reassuringly. Maybe we can fashion a Tesla gun if we have the parts. I wouldn't bet on it. They seem to be a bit Spartan around here. Now, on to a more pressing matter. What are you going to do about Hurricane Abigail and the missus? The hurricane will blow itself out eventually. We can only wait until she stops seeing red. And the other issue... Maybe I'll get lucky, and a shark will eat me. The door opened. However, instead of Abigail, an Atlantean male entered. This one was much younger than the last one, and had much shorter hair. Good day. I am glad to see you are better after your ordeal. When I retrieved you from the Kraken's grasp, I wasn't sure that you would survive, he said. I'm Milos, cousin to Ashira, whom I believe you have met. You rescued us? Asked Phineas. But you're just a kid. I am 47 years old by your calendar, but down here, yes, that is still young. You're 47? How old is Ashira? Asked William. She is 92, but if you ask her, she will tell you 79. She is a bit vain about her age, stated Milos. I don't know you liked him that old, William poked Phineas. Phineas ignored his friend. Just how, may I ask, did you manage to rescue us and bring us down here? Do you have a submersible? He asked. I was out swimming when I saw you being dragged by the Kraken. I just untangled you and brought you down. That is scientifically impossible, Phineas said. The pressure would crush us without some form of life support. Unless we are not that deep. Oh, we are, the ocean's bottom, though not the deepest part. There are things that you surface dwellers do not understand about Atlanteans. I am sure in time that you'll see our differences. Besides the blue skin, you mean, said William. Milo smiled. One of our more endearing traits. Now, if you are ready, the ministers would like you to meet with our people. Phineas and William got up, but before they took 2 steps, Milos put up his hand. Just you, Professor. Your friend should stay here. He comes with me, said Phineas. If anyone has a problem with it, then too bad. Milos looked at William with disdain. Very well. Follow me. The duo held back a bit, and William asked about what that had been about. They can sense your dolomite malady, and think you're a threat, Phineas told him. Maybe I am, replied William in a resigned tone. It's been getting harder and harder to control myself. I have been having blackouts and finding myself in different places. People tell me that I've been in fights that I don't remember. Times that you know. Times I haven't told you about. I'm afraid I'm losing this battle.
Phineas looked at him. Why did you keep it from me?
You're not a doctor, and can't solve every problem with a wrench and a slide rule.
I am still researching a cure. I have others looking into it as well. There's a doctor in London that I plan to meet with when we're there. Be patient.
I have been. That's all I can be. If you can't fix this, then I'll have to find someone who can.
Like who? Asked Phineas.
Like...
William stopped, knowing what he was going to say, but just as it came to his mind, it slipped away just as quickly.
I don't know, but there must be someone out there who can help.
There is. We just have to find them. But for now, we have other things to deal with. They caught up with Milos as he entered a doorway. As they passed through, they stopped cold as the amphitheater-sized room they stepped into erupted in applause given by hundreds of Atlanteans.
You're listening to Big World Network.